There is emerging on the face of the earth a new human, an infinite human, and that infinite human is you. Join Elizabeth Monroy weekly for enlightening discussions, multidimensional journeys, profound meditations, and empowering visualizations as we co-create the new consciousness renaissance together with other blossoming infinite human beings who are shifting the old paradigms of our broken, fragmented, finite 3D Earth and alchemizing it into a more expansive, unified, loving, infinite reality by reclaiming their true divine, infinite power within as the co-creators of the new infinite Earth. Join us weekly for the Infinite Human Talk Show, hosted by Elizabeth Monroy.
Hello, my divine, infinite human family. You're all that is, ever has been, and ever shall be. And welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Elizabeth Monroy, and we're having infinite conversations on the Infinite Human Talk Show. And I just want to take a moment to express my gratitude. It means so much to me that you tune in at this time, whenever it may be, because there really is no time. But I just feel you through sacred cyberspace, and I really enjoy this connection. It is such a profound part of my life and purpose, and it gives me great joy and passion to download the information that comes to me. So I've shifted a little bit right now because we're in amazing times. So the topic of today is, as the world crumbles, the 3D world crumbles around you, what is the one question that you need to keep asking yourself over and over, moment to moment, day by day? And we're going to get into that in just a minute. But I want to say that there is so much going on in the world, and everyone's talking about it. And, it's fascinating, and definitely everyone should tune in, in and out to see what's going on externally. But as I've said time and time again, don't get distracted, because this is your time. As the 3D Earth crumbles, this is your time to rise. You are the new Earth rising. It's made up of you, because you are anchoring in the frequencies. You are the creative divine force that's going to be populating it with not only yourself and frequencies, but also new ideas and passions and everything, new art, new culture, new economy, new way to relate to people. It's a fascinating time to be alive. But the most important thing we need to do now, as we see governments being overturned or failing, we see, energies that, come from our sun, that come from interstellar activity, that come from tsunamis out of the center of the Milky Way. I mean, we're being hit boom, boom, left and right with all kinds of ascension energies. It's a good thing. As we see the old world order being dismantled, and the new world order of technological tyranny trying to find its niche, and as we're having to deal with what I call artificial stupidity at every turn. So there's so much that we're encountering, and the most important question that you can ask yourself each and every moment as you encounter all these shifts and changes and upheavals is, am I a victim or a victor? Now, it may sound simple, it may sound even trite, but those words, I am, what am I? Am I a victor or a victim? Are so powerful, and they will position you every time on your true organic timelines, okay, of the highest timelines that you can manifest your life on, the optimal future, and into your optimal self, or what I call your heroic self, which is known as your heroic self. It's the you that ascends this time. It's the you that wins. It's the you that does not get victimized. It's the you that heals and integrates and alchemizes all the other yous that are running around. We call them past lives, but there is no time, as I said before. So they're running around, and they're influencing you moment to moment. So that's why you really need to become aware aware of each and every thought. And I put a newsletter out. It's on my website, www.infinitehuman.com. And I quote, I just love this guy, the great Carl Jung. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So that is a very, very powerful statement if you really reflect on that. And that's what's happening because the unconscious, as I've mentioned time and time again, according to psychological theory, makes up 90% of our consciousness. Which everyone's talking about awakening. Are you awakening? We're awakening. We're moving into an awakening movement. So part of the awakening, of course, is to awaken and bring that unconscious part of you into your awareness so it no longer controls you, because that's what's happened. You have all kinds of beliefs and thoughts and limitations and programming and indoctrination that is just running on autopilot, and you're reacting to life according to that. Now, the victimization is huge, okay? And it's huge because pretty much that has been the only part that we've been able to play. It's the only role we've been cast in for eons. Why? Because we have been cut off. We've been encapsulated in a veil. Many people are saying the veil's thinning now, which is true, but we've been encapsulated in a veil in the lower dimensions. And that's when we refer to 3D Earth, we're talking about the lower harmonic universes, and the higher dimensions that were always part of our reality, part of our consciousness. In fact, we were directly connected with our 12 strands of DNA to infinite source. So we were constantly downloading, uploading, receiving information from higher dimensions. But when we were cut off, okay, we were locked into duality. So it was good or bad, right or wrong, victim, victor, or really it was more victim, persecutor. And the reason we were locked into this finite existence was because the parasitic fallen angelics wanted to feed on our energy. And so they wanted to feed on our misery because they needed loosh. Loosh is the emotions that are, generated when you're in trauma, when you're feeling grief, profound grief, when you're terrorized, and you're tortured and terrorized. There's a lot of the satanic, ritual sacrificing. So the victim before they die is tortured and terrorized. So that gives off these emotions of loosh that are called loosh. So they're all kinds of tainted emotions. They're not emotions of joy and pure love. And that's not what this time matrix has been about. Especially where we've been, the matrix that we've been encapsulated, the prison matrix, has been about creating misery. And how do they do that? By victimizing us. And we've been great victims. Now, one of the reasons, especially the Krystic tribes, the people who have higher genetic coding, the people who came here with the soul mission to help the lost souls, to help people to ascend. Many of us who volunteered to be here during this time period, we have had in all these other alternative identities been martyred and victimized. And I really put martyring into victimization as kind of more like just a glorified victimization. And believe me, I was, a star martyr. I always took the bait. And, but it was really just by us being ourselves, because we were hunted down by the fallen angelics for our genetics. Okay, so the females were always hunted for their genetics because they wanted to breed with us so they could create their race of Anunnaki, so they would have the codes to the stargates and they would be able to, conquest the world. So we have suffered so much. We've been, just when we think we're nice and safe in our little hovel, in our little cottage that we found somewhere, in the highlands or, out in the middle of nowhere, the raider races would be deployed. They would find us, and then they would murder, our children and our husbands in front of us, and take us into their into their culture to be breeders, for them. They would make us their wives, and we would have to live in their warped society. And so a lot of us learned, very young, that just being ourselves, okay, or exposing our supernatural, because we were very intuitive, we had very supernatural abilities. A lot of the RH negative lineage has these abilities, and still has them. They were hunted down too, and those were the witches. Those were the ones that were, burnt and boiled and flayed and drowned and hung and all those things in very traumatic ways. So what that did was that trauma was buried deep within us, and it caused us, one, to alter, to change who we were, to change ourselves away from our true Krystic, authentic selves. So that's why so many of you are having such anxiety and fear about being who you truly are right now, reclaiming your divine angelic infiniteness, because it's just woven into our holographic template, these traumas. And until they're brought out, they're going to fester, and they're going to keep, grabbing that pen when you're trying to write your life story the way you want it. They're going to keep trying to keep you small, because that's what we've had to do. Every time, we've started to get a little bit of success, usually we've been found out. As soon as we've been found out, then, at worst, we just disappeared. We hid, we found a way to get out of town. But that was the best. And at worst, we were like persecuted, ridiculed, and murdered, So we learned from this, and all these experiences. Every time we expanded our aura, every time we reached out and reclaimed our divinity, every time we spoke out, we got it. I already told you all the different ways, and there were so many more. And I'm sure many of you might have phobias of certain things. I know I've had a lot of phobia about water and, heights and things like that. So that is your past lives or alternative identities rearing their head to be acknowledged and to be healed. So that's what you have to do. You have to make the unconscious conscious. And that's what everyone now is calling the shadow knows, the shadow self. And the truth is, though, your shadow, once you really go in and you can face it and you can embrace it, love it, and alchemize it, it is your superpower. All right. The things that you've been pushing away, that you've been hiding, they are your superpowers. So when you learn how to work with them, when you open your ears and listen to the messages that they've been bringing to you, then you have your superpower. You have your magic carpet to sail through all of these crazy, crazy times, and as a victor, not a victim. So this is very important, because that's what we're facing day to day. I've been facing, I'll just tell you some of my, journeys. I'll just talk personally, and hopefully this will remind you of some of yours. But, AI, I'm not a great fan of it. I call it artificial stupidity. And I've had to, go into it, talk to it, deal with it. And, and I see what they're trying to do. I see the agenda, and it's getting to the point where things are just so crazy, because you can't talk to humans anymore, and they just run you around, and, you're at arm's length. And so, but I keep saying to myself, every time they do the most incredibly stupid things to me, I keep saying, I'm a victor. Okay, this is good. This is happening because it's teaching me something, And I'll just share what's happened to me is amazing. First of all, I'm recording this talk show because I can't go live for some reason. When I do go live, the sound doesn't record. And I've gone through everything I can to find out why. So this is the way I'm doing it, which is working out fine. I'm like, thank you. That's a gift. All right. I was completely taken. My name, Elizabeth Monroy, is gone from Facebook. I can never, I've tried and tried to create an account. Can't do it. Can't create another one. So, and the worst part is there's all these Elizabeth Monroy accounts out there that everyone thinks I just don't talk to them anymore because I can't get to them. I also, the other day, got locked out of my Amazon KDL account. So I can't go in and have any contact with my intellectual property. All the books I have on there, and I have like 20 books on there, and audiobooks and ebooks. So it's just crazy. And there is no customer help whatsoever for authors, which is pretty much validated what I said several years ago. The reason I put my book on there for in print especially was because it's very convenient and it's very economical for people, and I just wanted people to get it. But now I'm trying to move more with Ingram, so if you can buy it on Ingram, the print book, and I really want you to get a print book because it's really, really important to have things outside of the net. So again, the infinite human, and that's what all my work's based on. It's a great foundation for connecting everything together, for seeing what is transpiring, and it's my own personal journey of rewriting my life story as a victor, not a victim, not a martyr. So it's a good example of that, because I really think that is the most important thing you can do now. I mean, yes, it's fascinating to find out all the things that are happening and what's going on the planet. Of course, everyone wants to, kind of tune in and out. Don't put too much energy in that, because not very much of it is true also. But to tune into yourself and find out who you are. And that is the most important thing you can do. And I'll tell you, that's something we never do. Ever since we were little people, we're shoved into, well, now it's daycare, but when I was little, it was nursery school and then kindergarten and first grade, second grade, all the way up. And then, oh God, I got to get into college, and then I got to get my master's. And, it was always about learning about everything outside of myself. But when did I learn about me? When did I learn who I was? Who is Elizabeth Lee Steer Monroy? What makes her tick? Questions for you. Who are you? Who are you? I think the Who asks that. Who? So who are you? I mean, what gets you out of bed in the morning? What gets you excited? What makes you want to be alive on this planet? Because we've been living in a death cult. And I'll be quite frankly, I've had a lot of grief, because we're letting go of so much right now. And I've let go of a lot of the old me, the old stories, the old, versions of my life. And I've had, and I told a lot of people I've been working with my liver, because liver means live, right? So I've had to really reevaluate and find out why do I want to live? What do I get up for? What's passionate about my life? How do I keep the passion going? How do I keep going even in the face of adversity? Now, I just told you a whole lot of things that happened to me, and a lot of people would say, well, God, give up. I mean, come on, just, and I could, I mean, I'm not, I have no financial worries. And, I live in a beautiful place, and, I could just walk on the beach and eat out and fresh, food, seafood, whatever I wanted to every day here in Italy. I mean, it's beautiful, but this is a passion of mine and it's my soul mission. So I just keep going. And I always see it as a way to improve things and get out of the old things, their messages and signs. And all you can do is be an example. So I hope I'm an example to people to keep on going. And one of the examples role models that I really, really have always looked up to is David Icke. Now, David Icke, and we had him on this talk show because when the whole scandemic thing happened, I remember I got on, I was just on Facebook Live telling what I was really seeing in Italy because all my friends around the world were asking me what's going on in Italy, and then I was saying it, and then he was the only other person that was saying exactly what I was saying. And I was like, oh God, thank God for David Icke. I'm not crazy, and there's someone else saying it. And then he got pulled from Facebook. He did a live stream. Over 1 million people tuned in. He got completely banned from YouTube, from Facebook. He was not allowed to physically step foot in Europe. I mean, all kinds of things. And did he, curl up and die? Of course not. That just gave him more fuel. And he started his whole iconic, show with his two sons who are very much involved now. And it's just continuing, it's going to continue for generations because of this. And he kept writing books. Like I said, I had him on on the Infinite Human Talk Show when he came out with his. He's come out with two other books since then. He just is a dynamo. But he came out with his book that is interesting. He was talking about the infinite. I forget the name of it. But and now he's back on Facebook. He's back on YouTube, and it's great, because people that they're just starting to awaken can see him again. Because when I started this journey, back over 10 years ago, I listened to his marathon workshops that he did in Wimbledon and all over the world, and they really helped me. And I included a lot of that in this book, The Infinite Human, along with a lot of the colonic science that Ashiana has shared with us. So, you just got to keep going, and these challenges are proving that you have something important to say, or they wouldn't try to so desperately to stop you. So because of this, it's caused me to find a community, and I've tried all the different communities. I finally found one that I feel really good at. I really like it. And so everything is on my website, which I created in that community, my new website, infinitehumanschool.com. So if you'll go there, because we're talking about what I've created is, okay, and we talked earlier about a school, and I've gone to, I don't know how many schools, all abroad programs, you name it. I've learned a lot of fascinating stuff, especially when I studied abroad in Rome and in Florence. I went to the University of Florence and studied Italian and studied art and cinema and all that. It's wonderful stuff. But when do you get to find out about you? So I started the drum roll, Infinite Human University, where you learn about you. You learn, and I've created all kinds of workbooks. In fact, one of the workbooks that is available within the course, you can also buy it separately, is Rewriting Your Life Story to Your Journey, and it's just 167 pages with questions, with spaces to doodle. I've even, this is mine that I filled out because it helps me. I mean, a question is the most beautiful gift anyone can give you, I believe. So it gives you a chance to look and think, what am I creating now for myself? Well, the first question is, your life story. It's about your life story. And it says, are you the main character in your life story? So many people aren't, especially women. We have a real tendency with that lunar harness, projecting us as a reflection of the solar male to be the sidekick, and I mean, that's such a powerful question. Are you the hero, the heroine in your life story? And then I also kind of play with the word heroine, because so many times heroines have always been, if you look at literature, if you look, at movies. I even grew up on Mickey Mouse, I'm sorry, not Mickey Mouse, Mighty Mouse, here I come to save the day. And Mighty Mouse would come and save, the heroine who's always a victim. So, women have always been cast as victims, waiting for their Prince Charming to come and save them. And for me, that was a huge thing because I was always playing that role. I loved it. That was my favorite part. The victim, the heroine. And when I met Peter, he loved being the doctor, the gynecologist. He loved coming to my rescue. And I got myself into the most creative. I actually got arrested once in Georgia, coming from Kentucky, driving down to Florida, and he had to close his office, drive all the way, like all day, to come to Georgia to get me because my driver's license had expired. I didn't even know it. I've been out of the country. I mean, he was always, and I just thought it was so romantic. Well, thank God I'm not playing that number anymore. I mean, what a number, what a waste of time. What a waste of energy. So, but we've been programmed to think that is, that's good. That's great. Oh, I want to find a man that'll save me. I mean, there's so many underlying stories and messages, and there's what I call is people have reached in and taken the pen out of our hands, as writers. They've stolen our pens and they've begun, I was looking for my pen here, they've begun to write the story, and what a horrible thing to do, like ever see little kids, they're coloring, no, you have to color in the line, someone, you're all involved writing this wonderful story and it's just, infinite. And then someone reaches in and says, no, 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 you have to color in the lines. No, you have to do this. You have to be like this. Yeah. And that's what's happened to us as little people. That's what the school indoctrination factories have been doing, stamping us with that, with that black cube, mortarboard, I graduated. I'm the wearer of a black cube now. So it's a time to, come back to who you are, the university, because you are a universe. And it's time for you to find out who you are, what your passions are, what your gifts and abilities are, what your supernatural powers are, because you all have them. Everyone has them. But, we've got to have the courage to go on this hero's journey, all right? This spiritual journey of ascension, where we have to face, Carl Jung, such a brilliant man, talks about the archetypes. And one of the archetypes is our shadow self. So that's built into the course, and in the course, I do just a lot of fun things because I actually developed it when I had my film school, the new Renaissance Florence International Film School in Florence, Italy. And I did it with my students because they would find pieces of artwork all around Florence, because Florence is nothing but artwork. It's amazing art. And then they would, create masks and monologues and movies and films. So I bring that creative element in it so you can, reconnect with that infinite creative essence that you have inside of you. So it's a beautiful course. And right now I'm offering
There's
it.
emerging on the face of the earth a new human, an infinite human, and that infinite human is you. Join Elizabeth Monroy weekly for enlightening discussions, multidimensional journeys, profound meditations, and empowering visualizations as we co-create
A new infinite earth. I think I'm going to leave this in, even though this is a recording. Wow. That was a wake-up call. So, gosh, a lot of power in that, huh? So, yeah, that's what my whole community is about. Okay, so it's finally coming in, and I'm bringing it, so it's not out there in social media where it could just disappear by the hand of whatever who wants to just, mess with my community now. And we're going to be doing fun, creative stuff. And yes, I definitely want to be making films. I want to, we'll be traveling around, in groups on sacred pilgrimages here in Europe, Sicily, Malta, Ireland, A lot of places, France, are coming up for me. And we'll also be creating spiritual retreat centers and hubs. So there's so much going on, but it's starting slow, and it's starting by first getting into it. You can get in for free, or you can get in the subscription community, which I think is like $33 a month, but you get live coaching calls. So we get to come together, and you can talk about the things that are coming up for you in these courses, with your shadow self, the fear, well, just some of the things I shared with you, of how the programs that you've received as a woman, and how to be the victim, and how to, keep yourself small and not wanting to attract too much attention to yourself, and all the things that are causing you to shoot yourself in your foot right now, that are getting in the way of you really expanding into your divinity and into your infinite angelic self, and to just become the divine creator that you are, creating the kind of life that you really want to live. And if you are struggling financially, if you are not passionate about your job, and we're in an in-between time, so a lot of people are alone right now. That's fine. But if you're finding yourself with toxic relationships with people who tolerate you but don't celebrate you, with just the wrong type of people, or if you're in a place that you just hate living in, okay, this is for you. This course is for you, because you're going to flip the script. You're going to change everything. You're going to go through everything with a fine-tooth comb and question what, first of all, what do you want? And two, why are you not giving it to yourself? Because you create your own reality. Yes, I know we can't hear that enough, because I forget it every day. And I've been lately going, I am creating my holographic reality. I am the creator. I am the master of my holographic reality. God and I are one, and I am creating what I experience. And I've had some moments like, this year, I've had a lot of work to do, and I have gotten that I'm not supposed to travel, which I usually go travel to some place really fun and whatever. But yeah, I live in a beautiful place, but it's not too many people are here, or not too much to do, especially at night. Last night, I said, I could say, I don't, I'm alone. Yeah, I could go into the lonely thing, the loneliness, or I could go into the all one thing and really just tune into the infiniteness. Or I chose to get up and go out and find some activity, because I needed stimulation. I needed to talk to people and just talk to people, and so you are the one that flips the script moment to moment. You are the one that decides whether to be a victim or a victor, to keep on, what I'm talking about too, rubbing that old wounds, right? Pouring the salt in, because sometimes we enjoy that. Sometimes that martyr in us, makes us feel so holier than thou. It's kind of a pious thing that a lot of Krystic people get into, like, oh, I'm so attacked, or oh God, and that time is past. We don't have to do that anymore. Okay, there was a time to do that, and it was important. It was important to do it. So I'm not going to belittle myself or anyone else for doing it, because part of our job, as knowing that we were all one, was to show those persecutors, what it felt like to be a persecutor. And some of them got it. Some still don't. Some of them are gonna are, on that bus to space dust, and they'll never ever open up their heart and start feeling compassion. But many people, and I know I have too, in the past, when I've been reacting to something, and sometimes I've been attacking someone and I didn't realize it, but by them, allowing that to happen, I learned from that, because we are all one. It's like your right hand hitting your left hand, or you slapping your own face when we hurt our fellow brothers and sisters and animals and plants, and the oneness of all things. And that's the journey we've been on. We've been disconnected from source. We've been disconnected from the oneness of all things. And now we're reconnecting all that, and we're remembering that. And we're coming to a place where we could never, harm or hurt, our fellow, brother and sister. It would be, it's something that just hurts us, because we sense that energetic connection. And that's a beautiful place to be at. So, nice place to just kind of tune into that oneness, And the next phase, as you tune into that oneness, because you're really rising above duality. And again, I needed, and I never would belittle myself or anyone else for what I did, especially in 2020. I spoke out, and I still do sometimes. I had to do something the other day. I had to scream the other day because no one was listening, and they were selling these showers that exploded glass that was supposed to be a safety glass, and it exploded. It exploded on the guy that was installing it for me. Poor thing. Thank God he had glasses. He wasn't blinded, but when he took a shower, it was all, his stomach was all bloody from the fibers of glass that had found their way into him. So, when injustices come up, sometimes, you raise your voice to a point where they'll hear you. And in Italy, you have to raise it really loud because everyone talks loud anyway. So, that I'm not going to take that away from anyone. But the next step is, as you rise above the duality of this is bad, this is right, this is good, this is, evil, live evil, is live reversed. So you begin to alchemize, and you begin to not have to, I'm not, like I say, sometimes you need to, but my focus now is much more on what I want to happen, what I want to see in the world, rather than getting angry at what's happening. What's happening in the world has to happen right now, because even though it's horrific, and oh my God, I only get English speaking channels. The only English speaking channel I get over here is BBC. So sometimes it just comes on. I don't know how much longer we're going to have it, but that's all right. But the horror stories that I hear about what people and governments are doing to people, it's incredible. So, but this is part of the, unfortunately, it just has to purge. It's the dark frequencies, it's the lower frequencies that are purging from our Mother Earth, and from what has been, to allow for the whole new earth to be born, for this whole beautiful, new, blissful, peaceful, joyful oneness, where we all know we are one, and we cannot harm our fellow human brothers and sisters or anything. So it's purging, but at the same time, you need to focus on what you want to have happen. I can't tell you how important that is. And this goes with the victimization too, because, I'll catch myself now. I'll start paying attention to my thoughts. I mean, how many of us actually listen to our thoughts? Very few. How many are aware when they made some drastic decision, inside their mind? Like, oh no, I can't do that. I'm going to give up. Oh no, I'm just going to sit at home and be depressed. Oh no, whatever. These are quick little flashes of that unconscious programming that has grabbed the pen out of your hand and is writing your story. And you know what? It's the same story. And you've been writing the same story of victimization lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. Yes, maybe the costumes have changed. Maybe the sets have changed. It's not ancient Rome. Maybe it's, it's, modern skyscrapers or something as a backdrop. And you're not wearing a toga. You're wearing, an empire dress or something. And the people, the faces have changed, but most likely the souls are still being attracted to you because you draw to yourself what you need to experience it. And you keep writing the same script over and over and over and over. So this is why you need the awareness. And you need to become aware of the sabotage of the thoughts that are rolling around in your mind like, I'm not worthy, it's going to happen again. It always happens. I never succeed. I'm not going to waste my time or my energy or my money because, nobody's going to buy it. Nobody's going to come. Nobody's going to whatever. So many sabotaging thoughts that keep us in this victimization. I'm not going to quit my job because I need a paycheck. I'm not, I'm not going to work on my health because I've tried in the past and I can never seem to heal myself from this blood. So many hacks into our script, our story, by these autopilot thoughts. So when you and worry, oh my God, how many people stay up all night worried about the next day, something big they've got to do or something bad's going to happen. You take out on a trip, and I've done this. Sure. I'll just, oh my God, what if my tire, blah, 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 what if this is what, well, yeah, there's something about being safe, having your car checked out or packing your luggage and making sure everything's there, or, checking your plane reservations, or with me, making sure Kiki has all her documents to get aboard the plane. I mean, it's just crazy. But and do that, do your due diligence, but then stop, because then the mind will start creating the bad script. All right, the victim script. Oh my gosh, I knew it. I got to the airport, and and I've had this happen because I always have a hassle with Kiki. You can't bring your dog on. Oh, okay, I'll just leave her in Chicago or something. You can't, blah blah blah. So but we carry that energetic imprint not only in our thoughts, but it's in our morphogenetic field because it's been there lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. So until we actually go in and remove those thoughts, like getting a tweezers and getting like a splinter or a piece of glass, which I had in my out of you, whoops, and you remove it, and then you begin to heal it, you begin to feel it, and you begin to let those toxins purge and leave your holographic morphogenetic field. So you're not walking around, and when you come to me, like when I come to an airport, there you are right in front of that BITC whatever. That's just looking at you, waiting to, attack you for whatever. You can't, I'll get you and your little dog too. You can't bring your service dog on this flight, or you recreate it. And I've done that. I was recreating the same stories. I was, oh, poor me. Oh, but I'm such a noble, kind, loving, Krystic person, and this always happens to me. So there's the payback there. I'm so good and these people are so bad. So how many lifetimes have we done that? I had a disability case because I'm getting much better now, and that's why I'm going through such major upgrades and but challenges because with these high frequencies, because they're just removing so many implants from me, because I have been extremely attacked in many lifetimes, like you, like most of you, like most, especially Krystic females. I've had all kinds of implants and all kinds of distortions in my holographic template. And, so I was actually legally declared disabled. I mean, I kept functioning, I never let it get in my way, but, I had trouble like walking up and down stairs and just, moving and being in my body. So, and I had this lawsuit going for 10 years. I kept refiling. I just never gave up, and I was at the point where forget it, and I kept getting like little lawyers that would say, okay, well, we'll sustain it for a year or something. And, so finally the last one showed up and I got this lawyer. He kind of just one defaulted and I got him. And obviously he was the right lawyer because he looked at me and he said, actually, I was on the phone. He said, Elizabeth, do you want to be right or do you want to win? And I was like, I want to be right. I'm getting up on my piety, on my indignant, talking about what they had done to Peter, because that was just, I was still carrying that, the way what the system had done to Peter, who was a doctor, and blah, blah, blah. But I had been doing that for 10 years and I lost every case. And I caught myself. I said, well, no, I think it's time for me to win, to be a victor. And you know what? He said, well, then just listen to me, do what I tell you to do. So I just said it, stated the facts, and, I won and I got 100 grand in my account and that was great. I needed that money. I had $1 one day and I had 100 grand the next day because I decided to be a victor, and I have, been, I've always been provided for, but, I have been in situations where I'm like, going, actually, homeless guy asked me, and because I didn't have any money one day, it didn't come through. I couldn't get it at the bankomat or whatever. And I got invited to a homeless dinner in Los Angeles, at a church. I was very grateful. Wow. Yay. Thanks. So things always happen, but we don't have to keep doing that anymore. That's been part of the old 3D finite earth. And yes, perhaps we've served as examples, to people. Of course, we have had our say, before our heads were chopped off or we were, the floor went out from under us and we were hung, and yeah, that felt really good until they lopped off her head. So the point I'm making is, do you want to continue being a martyr, which is a glorified victim, a victim, or a victor? And where in your life are you still doing that? Are you still playing that card? Come on, you know what I'm talking about. You have it in your back pocket. It's like, yeah, I can always play this card, make the people around me feel guilty or whatever. So it's time to stop that. It's time to get everything you want. It's time to take that paintbrush and paint the most beautiful life you've ever had. And yeah, you're going to get thrown. A lot of stuff's coming really fast, especially as this new world order technology comes to us. And we could just, we could become victims. We could say, oh, I'm not going to, this digital ID is going to, and I'm not going to do this because blah, 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 and the government's doing this. Yeah, they're still playing their victimization game. They know how to play persecutor. And don't get me wrong, every move they're making, is to try to trap you again, within their finite technological artificial stupidity matrix. And, I've had to make friends with it because my community is online. My course is now online. And you know what? I'm talking online because I'm reaching you. I'm reaching so many people now. And yes, I did want to just buy a little piece of land and, have a bunch of people come and us create our beautiful little community where we, have our own economy, grow our own food, make our own art, have our own place and stuff like that. But and that time is coming. I do believe we are going to have hubs and community centers, but we also are, have to alchemize what's coming at us, and that's become the victor of it. And I talked also another show and a newsletter about alchemizing, artificial intelligence or stupidity, alchemizing our, the internet, and we are with our words, with our presence, with our frequencies, bringing it out there. Why do you think they've been pushing me off of it so much, but there's always a back door, because why? We're infinite, and that's finite. We have infinite creativity, and that's the thing that this artificial stupidity does not have. It does not have creativity. People think it does because all it does is go around and steal everybody else's thoughts, and spit it back out. It's a pleasurizer. It's a thief, and it's a parrot. It just parrots back whatever just goes and searches the internet really fast and then comes up with your answer, which is always confined to the net, right? A net that keeps you, encapsulated, the little fishies in the net. So don't use it, alchemize it. But no, you are so much more powerful than it is. And if it's closing you out, then find another avenue. There's so much more. And I've said many, many times, because this is the new world order that they're pushing us into as they dismantle the old world order. And everyone's cheering, especially as Trump dismantles the old world order. Of course, we're glad he is. That's a wonderful thing. But what's it being replaced with? Pay attention. It's being replaced with the new world order of technology. And that's a stepping stone. It is. It's a stepping stone for the masses, especially. And let it just be a stepping stone, because I do believe, and I'm an eternal optimist like my father before me, that the Tartarian architecture and it's going to come back online. The Tartarian technology, we're remembering it. We're going to start working with it. We're going to start using it. And, we're going to be just, up in as these higher frequencies anchor, and our earth, rises up into each of the aurora platforms. We're not going to 5D Earth, and we're not going to Gaia. So, we're going to the aurora platforms and we're going back to Eartha, to our mother galaxy of Andromeda. So as we move up into these platforms, first internally, it's an internal, eternal ascension process. It's not happening externally. All right. So as we do that, wow, it's going to be so exciting. So it's your creativity, your infinite creativity, to tap into infinite God source and to manifest, as you reconstruct your Cathar grid, as you reconstruct your 12 strands of DNA, as you reconstruct your divine holographic template, where there is no hacking involved, where nobody can get in and change the program on you, where nobody can, sabotage your plans, your dreams, your soul mission. That's where you're going. So you want to stay focused on that, on what you want. Every day, wake up and say, what do I want to have happen today? Not what am I afraid is going to happen. Wake up and say, what do I want to create for myself and for the world today? And, I always say, change your story and change the world's story. Change yourself, you change the world. You are the change. You came here to be the change. So this is a very, very exciting time to be alive. And all right. So kind of to just wind things up here, I do invite you, let me invite you to buy some of my books for gifts. They make great gifts on Ingram, and on my website. I have links where you can actually click and get the books, and they're really well-made books. You can get all my children's books as hardbacks, so you can read them, and they can last for, generations. They can be given to your grandchildren and their grandchildren and their grandchildren, because books, with picture books especially, are such a special thing. And the artists that I had were so wonderful. One of them lives in Santa Fe, Barbara Kate. She did The Magical Mist, The Little Seed, which is about twin souls, and what else did she do? She did those. Okay, and then I had two artists from Florence. I mean, it's so easy to find the artists in Florence. Bert Actually, his real name is Burt, not Burt Reynolds. Richard Burton, Richard J. Burton, not the actor, did the little cow who refused to be hamburger. Gorgeous pictures, and then another gal, um, Lily Pombach, did Little Shell with beautiful pictures of shells on the beach, waiting to be crunched to death, and it's about overcoming your fear of death and it's just they're beautiful, priceless, timeless stories that you can order from Ingram and get the hardback. And then give the Infinite Human. And if you go to my website, infinitehuman.com, I have a whole bunch of reviews on it, how it's changed people's lives. This book, this simple little book that Peter, my twin soul, and I wrote. And this was after he ascended, so it's got some great stuff in it. He helped me so much with it, and it's got really good information that will help to awaken you, empower you, inspire you, and nudge you to rewrite your life story and reclaim your divinity, your divine infinite essence. And then the pathway home is actually really good, especially if it's people that are just starting to, they're not might really not be tuned into ascension, but maybe they're having health problems, and that's always a big thing, that a big catalyst to get people to start looking inside themselves and making changes. And of course, that was Peter's main book. He wrote it as a doctor. It's called The Pathway Home: A Guide to Divine Inner Healing. And it's all about him as a doctor and working with clients, with his patients, helping them to realize healing was not just physical, but physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, and that it was their responsibility. So, and he talks about how how to shift in each of your natures, physical, mental, emotional, shift your story so you can heal yourself, live a vibrant, healthy, full spiritual life. And that's a real powerful one. And then I have the Chronicles of Merworld, which is a romance novel that's really there to help heal the twin soul, because our twin soul connections have been so fragmented, not just by the timelines being scrambled, but by all the trauma and all the implants and distortions between the masculine and feminine frequencies within ourselves and with our lovers, our counterparts. And then the last one is the Rewriting Your Life Story, this workbook that's available. I've got to get it on Ingram. It's only on Amazon right now. But I'm going to change that. So, but above all, I really encourage you to check out infinitehumanschool.com. All right. And that's my website for the new community that's growing. And you can click on it and you can get started with the course. All right, Rewriting Your Life Story to Your Heroic Version, which is an excellent course. I've got some great reviews of some gals that have taken it. It's been in the making for about 30 years now, so it's really humming. And then if you get it now, or if you join the Awakening Infinite Humans, which I was saying right before the the jolt of the intro to the talk show came on. There was emerging on the face of the earth. If you join the Awakening Infinite Human community, we do bi-monthly actually, coaching sessions. So you can talk to me, ask questions about what's going on in your life, the course you're taking, or just whatever's coming up for you. And there's other people on there who'll share, and you can get to know your fellow Awakening Infinite Humans, because we're creating a whole community. We're creating a whole new foundation. We're creating a whole new earth together. So it's a beautiful place for us to start coming together and getting to know each other. And I am also during this time period uploading and putting on my course, The Mother Wound, the Mother of All Wounds. And it's the only course in existence that addresses the mother wound as a cosmic wound, and we deal with reconnecting and realigning ourselves with our divine eternal mother and clearing out our holographic template of a lot of the child sacrifice has cut us off from our own inner child, our own divine inner child. So we'll be doing a lot of work with that and healing that. And it's based on a spiritual pilgrimage that I did here in Sicily several years ago. So we actually travel around, and it's not just a course, when you're in your computer all the time. I take you around with me to these sites where they did do child sacrifice, and then you do a lot of artistic, creative painting and drawing and monologues and journaling. So it's a fun way to heal yourself, because you really alchemize your shadow selves. And then I'm also going to be doing one on the womb, healing the twin soul wound, which is huge. And I have a lot of experience with that, and Peter will be helping me with that one. So there's a lot of wonderful things that are planned. So please go to my website. Again, I'll say it one more time, Infinite Human School.com, and it's all there. And then you can join the community, and you can also join the community for free if you just want to be in there. And I join the mailing list so you get the latest, because I will be also doing a lot of very interesting events where I go live, and I'll be talking, and you can come on screen, and we'll have a chance to interact and do lots of coaching and healing and magical things. So that's the news for today. As my father used to listen to, that's the news from like woebegone. But anyway, wishing you just a wonderful, wonderful week, and I'll talk to you later. So ciao for now.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Infinite Human Talk Show with your host, Elizabeth Monroy. We hope today's episode has inspired you to join the new consciousness renaissance and be the change by reclaiming your true divine infinite nature within and becoming an infinite human and a co-creator of the new infinite earth. Tune in next week for another empowering episode. Until then, have an infinite week.